AITA for rejecting the husband my family picked for me and proving I could build a life they said I never would. I-24F was born into what most people would call a dream. My family owns a chain of luxury hotels spread across Europe. Marble lobbies, chandeliers, champagne fountains, all that. We've always been old money, the kind of family that shows up in magazines pretending we're effortlessly graceful while hiding our sharpest knives behind silk smiles. My father, the patriarch, believes in legacy. My mother believes in appearances. And my younger brother, Alexander, 23M, believes in nothing but himself. He's the heir, the golden boy. The future CEO, except he doesn't care about the business at all. He spends nights clubbing with investors, posts photos on yachts, and vanishes for weeks with models while my parents still call him just young and enjoying life. When I bring up that he's running through the company's money faster than the minibar at our hotels, my father just sighs and says, he'll mature. Boys do. But when I show ambition, when I want to take internships, meet investors, or join management training programs, I'm told to slow down. My father says, you don't need to prove anything. Your life will be comfortable. My mother adds, a woman's strength is in supporting her husband, not competing with him. The irony? I've spent years preparing for this. I studied hospitality and business, interned in real hotels, under a fake surname so I wouldn't get special treatment, and built contacts with investors who told me I had vision. I once pitched a modernization plan for our family's oldest hotel. Digital guest experiences, sustainability partnerships, experiential stays. The investors I spoke to loved it. One even offered to help fund a pilot project. When my father found out, he didn't even ask to see the proposal. He just said, you don't talk to investors. That's not your role. You're embarrassing yourself. He banned me from attending business meetings altogether. I felt humiliated, invisible. Still, I didn't stop. I kept working quietly, taking notes, studying trends, even designing mock business plans in secret. I thought maybe if I proved my ideas worked, they'd listen. But then came the bombshell, an arranged marriage. The man's name is Lucas, 29M, the son of a wealthy tobacco family. Tall, perfectly dressed, charming in that way where you can't tell if he's flirting or evaluating your price tag. Our families have known each other for generations. Translation, he's rich, powerful, and appropriate. At first, I thought it was just another dinner. But by dessert, Lucas was calling me my future wife. My parents were smiling like politicians at a ribbon cutting. After the dinner, my father said, you're lucky, darling. He's traditional, successful, and he'll take good care of you. You'll never have to work. That was the part that killed me. Never have to work. As if that's a blessing, not a cage. Lucas is polite in public but controlling underneath. When we talk, he asks questions like, you wouldn't want to deal with business stress, right? Or, you'll look stunning at charity events, don't worry about meetings. Once, I mentioned that I had studied finance and hospitality management, and he laughed. He said, that's cute. You'll be the prettiest CFO at the dinner table. My parents see him as a perfect match. My brother calls him solid. But I see a future where I'm smiling beside a man who doesn't even see me, where I host charity galas instead of board meetings, where my ideas sit in drawers while men toast to my silence. The only person who ever believed in me was my grandmother, Elizabeth. She used to sneak me into her office when I was a child and show me the first hotel she opened with my grandfather. This was built by love and grit, she'd say. Don't let men tell you you're ornamental. Before she passed away, she left me a small inheritance and a handwritten letter. For the day you decide to build something of your own. Don't ask for permission, just do it. That letter sits hidden in my jewelry box, folded so many times it's nearly falling apart. I read it whenever I feel like giving up. Now my family is pressuring me to set a date for the engagement. My mother already talked to designers about wedding dresses. My father says it's time to stop chasing dreams and start building a family. But every part of me is screaming, no, I want to build something real. Something that's mine. I have my grandmother's inheritance, my education, and my plan. I know it would cause a scandal if I refused. I know my parents would probably cut me off, maybe even disown me for embarrassing the family. But I also know I'll suffocate if I marry him. After a week. It started like every other family dinner. The long marble table, the flickering candles, the same dull conversation about stock prices and who's buying what vineyard. But I knew something was off the second my mother said, we have an announcement tonight. I froze. My father smiled like a man who had just closed the biggest deal of his life. Lucas was there, sitting beside him, casually swirling his wine as if he already belonged at that table. My mother clasped her hands together and said, we've set the engagement dinner for June. I choked on air. I wasn't even engaged yet. At least not that I knew. I looked at Lucas. He smiled and said softly, I wanted to surprise you. It's all been arranged. Arranged. Like I was a vacation package. I could feel my pulse in my ears. You did this without asking me? I said, trying to keep my voice steady. My father frowned. You're overreacting. You knew this was coming. I never agreed to marry him. Silence. The kind that fills the air right before a storm breaks. Lucas leaned back, still calm. Sweetheart, I know this feels sudden, but your parents and I have discussed everything. It's the perfect match. You'll be free to travel, to host, to sit still and look pretty. I snapped. My mother gasped like I'd cursed in church. My father's expression hardened instantly. Enough. You're behaving like a child. You've been indulged for too long. No, I said, my voice trembling. You've controlled me for too long. That was the first time I'd ever raised my voice at him. He stood up slowly, his authority filling the room. Do you have any idea what you're throwing away? The family name, the respect, the comfort you were born into? I don't want comfort, I said. I want purpose. Lucas tried to reach for my hand. You'll thank me one day, he murmured. Women like you always do once they realize they can't have both. Power and love. I pulled my hand back. Then I'll take power. My father's voice dropped to ice. If you walk away from this, you walk away from everything. No money, no support, no name. I looked at him and said, then I'll use my grandmother's name instead. The silence that followed felt like a glass breaking in slow motion. I left that night. No plan, no suitcase. Just my phone, my grandmother's letter, and the tiny inheritance she'd left me. A few weeks later, I found a crumbling seaside villa in Croatia. Faded pink walls, salt stains, and wild ivy crawling over broken balconies. It was beautiful in that tragic, forgotten way that only something once grand can be. The locals thought I was insane when I told them I wanted to turn it into a boutique hotel. The place hadn't seen a guest in 20 years. But when I walked through the dusty hallways, I felt something electric. Like this was where my life actually began. I used my grandmother's inheritance to buy the property and started renovations. It was chaos. Workers quit halfway, the roof collapsed during a storm. I ate instant noodles by candlelight because the power kept cutting out. But for the first time in my life, every problem was mine. Every decision, every victory, every mistake. Mine. I'd wake up at 6 a.m., sweep the floors myself, answer emails to suppliers, negotiate with locals, and fall asleep with paint on my hands. It wasn't glamorous, but it was real. My parents didn't call. My brother sent one text. This is insane. You'll come back eventually. Lucas? He sent flowers. A whole truck of them. The note said, you'll tire of pretending to be a man soon enough. I didn't even open the door. I left the flowers to wilt in the sun, but every night before I fell asleep, I reread my grandmother's words. Don't ask for permission. Just do it. And I kept going. Update, hey Reddit, I'm honestly overwhelmed by your responses. I didn't expect anyone to care, and I'm still trying to process everything that's happened. Here's the full update, because things have escalated far beyond what I imagined. It's been 9 months since I walked away from that dinner table in Paris. The night I left, I didn't have a plan, only my grandmother's letter, her tiny inheritance, and my stubborn refusal to be controlled. The villa I bought on the Croatian coast was a disaster. Cracked walls, wild ivy climbing the balconies, paint peeling off the shutters, the sea wind slicing through broken windows. Contractors quit halfway. The roof leaked during storms. Electricity failed more often than it worked. I slept on a thin mattress on the floor, wearing layers to stay warm, eating canned soup and instant coffee. Some nights I cried. Some nights I cursed my grandmother's optimism. But every day I worked. I measured floors, negotiated with local craftsmen, painted walls myself, researched everything I didn't know about running a hotel. Every mistake, every small victory, it was mine. Then came Chiara, an Italian travel blogger who had booked a room on a whim. She didn't know who I was. Locals thought it would be funny to spill the story. That's the rich girl who left Paris to ruin a villa, they whispered, laughing. Chiara took photos, me in paint-stained jeans, sleeves rolled up, serving coffee at sunrise. She snapped shots of the villa, the ivy, the broken shutters, the sunrise over the Adriatic, and wrote her post the next morning. The runaway heiress who built a dream out of dust. Within hours, it spread across Europe. Journalists and bloggers began tracing the property records, realizing this was the heiress from the famous hotel family. The story exploded on social media. Instagram, travel blogs, even Reddit threads dedicated to heiress gone rogue. Bookings skyrocketed. Influencers and photographers asked to stay for free just to be part of the story. Locals went from calling me the crazy rich girl to treating me like a leader in the village, bringing supplies, helping with repairs, offering advice. Lucas, predictably, went public. A tabloid printed his words, I worry for her. She's unstable and clearly under bad influence. Her family's reputation is at stake. The internet tore him apart. Memes, tweets, and comments flooded in. She said no to a man who thinks she's property. Shocking. Imagine being dumped and thinking you're the victim, girl boss of the century, and then there was my father. 2 weeks after the first headlines, a courier arrived with a simple envelope in thick cream-colored stationery. Inside, no sentimental words, no gush of pride, just 3 measured sentences, sharp and elegant. I have been following your progress. You have proven yourself more capable than you imagined, and more than we allowed you to believe. Remember, talent is not measured by inheritance, but by execution. Father. Reading it, I felt something strange. Recognition without indulgence. The kind of pride that's quiet, almost dangerous because it carries weight without flattery. It wasn't warm, but it stung in the right way, the kind that makes you sit taller. For the first time, I realized I was no longer living in their shadow. Every decision, every disaster, every success was mine. My villa, my hotel, my rules, and the world had noticed. It was early morning. The Adriatic sun spilled across the villa terrace, lighting up the peeling pink walls and the wild ivy that climbed the balconies. Salt air mixed with the faint smell of wet paint and fresh espresso. I was in the lobby, hair tied back, sleeves rolled, hunched over invoices and guest lists. The front desk was cluttered with paperwork, a stack of local artisan menus, and a few tools I'd left from fixing a broken shelf. The bell above the door jingled. I looked up. Lucas. He walked in, slow, deliberate, like he owned every inch of the space. His tailored navy suit was perfect, polished leather shoes tapping lightly on the worn wooden floor. He smiled, that same arrogant curve of lips that had haunted my teenage years. But now there was tension in his shoulders, a subtle tightening around his jaw. The confident alpha male of Paris and Monaco looked unsettled. He scanned the lobby. The mismatched furniture I'd restored myself, the fresh flowers on the counter, the guests laughing softly in the corner. Everything alive, imperfect, chaotic, unlike the sterile hotels of my family empire. "You're still here," he said, voice low, almost a murmur, as if testing the truth of it. "Yes," I replied, keeping my voice steady, even casual. Rolling my eyes slightly, because I could. "I'm running the place. It's doing well." He stepped closer, hands in his pockets, and looked at me in a way that tried to measure me, like I was some puzzle he still thought he could solve. "I've seen the articles," he said. "Everywhere. Blogs, magazines, even some travel influencers. You really went and did it." "I told you I would," I said flatly, refusing the bait of his praise. He exhaled, short, frustrated, a mix of disbelief and grudging respect. "I didn't think you could." I laughed softly, bitter and amused at the same time. "I didn't do it for you, Lucas." His eyes flicked down, then back up. "I thought you might call eventually. That you'd come back. Tired of managing all this yourself? Call you?" I repeated, incredulous. "Lucas, I've built a business from a ruined villa. I've painted walls I didn't know I could reach. I've negotiated with contractors who laughed at me. I've slept in cold rooms with leaking ceilings. And you think I'd call you?" His jaw tightened. For the first time, his perfectly composed alpha demeanor faltered. He shifted weight from one foot to the other, hands subtly flexing. "You've changed a lot. I didn't expect this. You're formidable. Formidable, huh?" I arched an eyebrow, crossing my arms. "I'm just me, and that's enough." He hesitated, scanning the lobby again as if absorbing every detail. The paint-stained counter, the handcrafted menus, the sun hitting the sea through the open windows. "You're unstoppable." Lucas?" I cut him off, voice sharper than intended, eyes locking with his. "Do you remember what you said? Women like me always end up realizing they can't have both, power and love. Well, I chose one. And it wasn't you." His face shifted. A flicker of surprise, then a shadow of something like regret. He straightened, shoulders rigid, jaw set. "I underestimated you," he said slowly. "That's my mistake." Silence fell. Just the ocean crashing outside, the faint chatter of guests, the smell of fresh coffee. I could see the faint tension in his stance, the way he was trying to gather composure after being unseated by someone he never thought could outgrow him. He gave a curt nod, a subtle acknowledgement, then turned toward the door. I watched him go, his figure receding down the stone terrace, shoulders squared but uncertain. For the first time, I felt it fully, untouchable. Not because of the villa, not because of the media attention, but because I had created this life. Every decision, every mistake, every tiny victory. It was mine. I turned back to my desk, ignoring the echo of the bell, feeling the sunlight hit the room just right. The villa was alive, chaotic, beautiful, and I had built it from nothing. And Lucas? He was just a reminder of the old world I had walked away from. Word of my thriving hotel didn't stay quiet for long. By the next week, the European press had picked up on Lucas's failed attempts to warn me about my choices. Gossip columns speculated wildly. Was the heiress running from love or running towards something bigger? Meanwhile, my parents decided they needed to act, publicly. Privately, anything to remind the world that I was still their daughter. They sent a formal statement to several business magazines. "Our daughter has chosen an independent path. While we respect her determination, she remains a member of this family. And we encourage her to maintain balance. Classy, vague, patronizing, and entirely ineffective." Alexander, meanwhile, appeared in a small social media scandal. A party gone wrong. Investors pulling out of his deals. Suddenly, the golden boy of the family looked reckless, irresponsible, and insecure. The world began to notice. I started receiving messages from journalists. "How did the heiress leave Paris and thrive while your brother fails?" Then came the twist. A high-profile investor, impressed by my independent success, drove personally to the villa. He handed me a portfolio containing a proposal I could hardly believe, full creative control over my hotels. Major funding to expand the villa into a boutique hotel chain along the Adriatic coast. No interference, no strings attached. "Do this your way," he said, respect in every line of his face. I've never seen someone execute with such clarity and persistence. I stared at the portfolio, the sunlight catching the leather, the Atlantic breeze tangling my hair. Every instinct screamed yes. But I paused. Accepting meant global exposure, scrutiny, and inevitably attention from my father, Lucas, and the gossip-hungry press. I closed the portfolio, locking eyes with the investor. "I'll consider it," I said. "But only if I run it my way," he nodded. Of course. I wouldn't have it any other way. By the end of the day, I realized something profound. I was no longer just the heiress who ran from her family. I was the woman who created her empire, defied expectations, and became untouchable. Lucas's shadow no longer loomed. My parents' influence waned. The villa, now alive, chaotic, and thriving, was my kingdom, and for the first time in my life, the future felt infinite, dangerous, dazzling, and completely mine. After some time, I opened another hotel. It was amazing. I felt amazing. I never thought that I can go this far, and it was just the beginning. Lucas arrived quietly, no fanfare. Not as an intruder, not as a lover, not as an obstacle, just there, observing, respect etched into every line of his face. "You did it," he said softly, voice low, almost reverent. "You've outgrown all of us." "Even me," I smiled, letting the truth settle. "Exactly. I didn't need anyone to approve me. I didn't need anyone to give me permission. I built everything myself. He nodded, a shadow of pride flickering across his expression, and stepped back. No drama, no attempts to reclaim what was never his to take. He understood now. The girl he underestimated had become untouchable. We talked, and he even joked he will be a regular customer. Meanwhile, my parents' controlled facades finally cracked. A formal statement hit the press. Our daughter has established a path entirely her own. We recognize her leadership, vision, and determination. She is no longer simply our heiress, she is a force in her own right. Alexander faded into irrelevance, his failed ventures a stark contrast to my rising empire. The media celebrated me endlessly, coining titles I hadn't asked for. The Adriatic heiress, the girl boss who refused control, the untouchable heiress. That night, standing on the terrace, wind tangling my hair, waves glinting under the last light of day, I realized something. I was free. Fully, untouchably free. The villa was no longer just a hotel. It was my kingdom, my empire, my victory, and the world had no choice but to notice. I smiled, taking a deep breath of salty air, knowing this was only the beginning, but I had already won. Untouchable, unstoppable, complete.